You talk about trust in leadership. I mean, these are kind of fundamental hallmarks of your work, and you talk about how that's not a rank, it's not a position, it's not something you're born with. It is a choice to take care of the person to the left of you and to the right of you is what you talk about. And what I want to ask about is, I'm a person that I believe that I'm on board, perfect, but I'm also human and I'm also selfish. And there are times when, despite my best intentions, I screw it up and I make the wrong choice. So how as leaders do we recover from those kind of things?
You know, leadership is not about being perfect. Leadership is admitting you have mistakes. Leadership is falling down and getting back up. You know, the great paradox of being human is that we're both individuals and members of groups at all times. And so when you have people like Maslow who talk about this hierarchy of needs, he's only considering us as individuals. And so when you talk about, he talks about food being primary, but I've never heard of anybody committing suicide because they're hungry. People commit suicide because they're lonely. So that means that food doesn't come first, right? And so he's right if you only consider us as individuals, but not if you consider us as members of groups. And so those who espouse members of group come first, they're also right and they're also wrong. It's both. And that's what's so infuriating and frustrating. And it means that we're left with, on a daily basis, to make decisions that, should we put the group first, should we put others first, or should we put ourselves first? And sometimes the answers are not clear and it's paradoxical, you know? And, you know, God has also given us the gift of rationalization, so we can rationalize anything we want. You know, I think the best leaders never think they're the best leaders, and the best leaders, none of them consider themselves experts. They all consider themselves students of leadership. And when you have somebody who's very senior who says, "I've been doing this a while and I think I know what I'm talking about," you know, those are the ones to ignore. It's because I've met some unbelievable human beings in incredibly senior positions that if they said that, I'd be totally fine with it. And yet they don't. They understand their fallibility, and they know, however much they know a pittance. And it's that curiosity and that willingness. I've talked about this before. The best definition of humility I ever heard was given by Bob Gaylor, who was the 5th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. And he said, "Don't confuse humility with meekness. Humility is being open to the ideas of others." And so you can have a big swaggering ego. It's not about, "Oh yeah, thank you." That's meekness. And you can have a huge swaggering ego, but if somebody says, "I've got an idea," you go, "Let's hear it." That doesn't mean you have to like it. That doesn't mean you have to listen to it. But you know, the fact that you feel guilty, I think, is probably a good thing. It probably means that you're self-aware and you're you're striving for better. But these things are also not easily measured on a daily basis. You know, good leadership is measured over quarters and years and decades, not months and quarters.